So, hi everybody and welcome back. This is a C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 45, and in this video we are talking about a new keyword, which is the switch statement here. So what is a switch statement? A switch statement is similar to a if statement where you can do something depends on a condition. So it's very similar, but let me make here an example and then you will see if they are really similar or if they are not similar. First of all, the switch statement starts with the keyword switch. Then we have again similar to our if statement, our condition block, which are this round brackets, and then we will write there a condition, but let's continue first. Then it starts also like a if statement with a body, but then we have something different here. We have to write something like cases, right? And then we have defined this a little bit more. How we are going to define them in a moment. And later we can have a default, but this is optional. And we will use in this switch statement we have already learned this break keyword anywhere, and we will use this one here too. So we have learned this break already. We know what this break is. It stops an execution, right? So it jumps out. We learned it, for example, in our while loop, or yeah, I think in our loop we wanted go out or we wanted to continue, for example. That was this example. So, but let's concentrate here more about the switch statement. So this is just something which looks not very good, and now I have to fill this with useful information. So let's start again on top. Switch statement, we write again a condition. And let's write a condition. Let's say here true. Like we know this one about if statements, but the problem is this one is not working because this condition in a switch statement must be an integral number. Integral means an integer, full number, or it must be an enumeration type. Enumeration, we have not discussed this one. And enumeration type is something you can create also words. So it's not that it works only with numbers, but let's create a useful condition here. Okay, let's create a variable. Integer is definitely an integral number, and I call my variable a condition variable, and I assign it this default value 0. Okay, now we have made a condition variable, and this condition variable I want place here. Condition variable. Perfect. Now depends on the condition, I can do something here. And how I am doing something there is I use this word case. But this one is not correct because now I have to write after this word case what the case is. With other words, what the value of this could be, because there are not one cases later, we have more. So it could be, let's say, let's make it easy. This conditional variables goes from 0 to 10. So at case 1, I will do something. So with other words, if this becomes 1, the switch statement jumps in this body, then it checks the first case is if this case is 1. If it's 1, then it will execute that what you write after this colon. And let's write here just an output, simple output, and yeah, which is, oops, is it what I'm doing? See out and write it case 1 is active. Something, anything like that. So, and now I have used one case, but the important thing about a switch statement is you can check not only one case, you can check all the possible cases, all the possible conditions this variable can have. For example, this variable, this integer variable, can have 10 different numbers. Then I can write here 10 different cases. Case 2, for example, and then case 3, but let's make only 4, and so on. You understand it. So depends on the variable, I can define different cases, and depend on this case I can do something. Anyhow, this example makes here not a real sense, but I will try to find later a more interesting example, because this one is just to explain it. So let's continue a little bit. So we have our conditional variable. This can become any number, and then our switch statement will check this cases. Actually it checks only this number here if this condition is one of these numbers, and if it's the case it will execute after the colon. So far so good. But what is this break statement? So this break statement means after the switch statement find one of these cases, you have to use this break statement after you finished your output or what you wanted to do. So why is that? Why we have to use that? I mean, when it finds the case 1, for example, let's say this one is 1, then this variable would be here 1, then it will jump here to 1, and then it's finished, because this one is only for 2, right? That's not true. That's the problem. If this switch statement find here the first possible solution, for example 1 is 1, then if there is not a break statement, this one will execute all followed cases too. So let's make here another case example here. std cout. This one should not print it out, but it will. That's the problem, right? Let's see if this is true. I delete the break, I delete the break, and I delete here also the default, because right now we don't need a default. And let's see. My intention was, after it found this number case 1, it should stop. But what happens now? I start the program, and we see actually it prints out both, right? There is only not a new line number like old time. It's not so visible, but that's the problem. And that's why we need this break statement. The break statement says, I found the first solution, and if you want me to check the other ones, I can go on. But if you don't want, make a break. Say, go out of this loop. Or not a loop, in this case, go out of this check. That's very important. And the next thing, which is very important too, so let me show you that this works now. When I start this, you see now only this one works. And let me show you also what happens if the case only 4 is there. Then the first one will not checked. So for the first one, doesn't matter if there is a break or not, because it will not execute it. But here, let's write here again a break, because after this one we want stop. Actually here it's not very important because it was anyway the last element, but you see here it checks first the condition variable here, in this case 4, then it jumps here to 4, and from this point it starts to go on. It would go on here if you have no break. All right, I think that's so far clear. Then one more thing, there was another word here included and it was this word default. And actually this default, is similar like, let's say so, it's similar like our default values which we assign to our variables. So for example, here I have, we had made so many examples where we say we need a start number or something like that. And this default here is similar, but in another way. And what I mean with that is this default will be activated when all the other conditions, in this case, all the other cases, are not true. For example, I write here the number 7 here, and you see now the number 7 is not included in my case, but here on default I write std out, and here I write no case was found. That's why no case was found. So this one, so let's say so default is printed out or executed normally, but this one is okay. And let's test this if this is true. And you see, so what happens? This one is indeed printed out, and after default we don't need anything, just default and colon. And you see here we have the condition 7. We have found nothing, no cases, and the default value, you can add this. You have not to add this in your code, but if you add this, this will print it out if all other things are wrong. So this one was an introduction a little bit about the switch statement, and I want to show you that this one can be converted in a if statement too, because this looks very strange, but actually it's similar to a if statement. But this one I show you in the next video. See you there, and bye.